I'm extremely proud to be the Speaker of this Parliament, one of the most probably diverse and dynamic parliaments in the world. The Knesset deserves it. A month ago, we bid farewell to one of these notable lawmakers and leaders, Shimon Peres, who spent 48, I repeat, 48 years as a member of Knesset in this house, not only in this building. And I do have to say that the Prime Minister had a great statement opening the government meeting next day after Shimon Peres passed away. The Prime Minister said, "This is the first day in the State of Israel without Shimon Peres." We feel it here in the Knesset too, though in the last several years he was not a member of Knesset. He was the president who would come to this building only on special occasions, but I think we miss him and remember him. We've gathered here today bowed by our common membership in the larger global Jewish people. Our backgrounds and lifestyles may be different, and we represent cultures and countries from the four corners of the earth. But we are fundamentally part of the same family. And that means we need to coexist despite our differences, however profound they may be. And sometimes they are profound indeed, extending to the core of our Jewish sensibilities. One such issue, mentioned already in my room, is a prayer at the Western Wall. This site has primary religious significance for all Jews. Well, turns out that according to UNESCO, this is not so. But I guess the very arguments we have about things happening there show that this outrageous decision has nothing to do with reality. There, in the old city, they say, our words ascend directly to God in heaven. And while this site is meant to bring our people together, such unity has been difficult to achieve. This is not for lack of trying. As you are aware, the government, with a lot of efforts coming from your chairman, Natan Sharansky, has spent a great deal to find a workable solution. Indeed, we have made a great deal of progress, but we have not yet arrived at a resolution, a fact that has posed a challenge to the Israel-diaspora relations. We sincerely appreciate your constructive input throughout this process, and we thank you for voicing your legitimate concerns. I can assure you that your voice is heard in this building and in the government. But public petitions abroad do not help achieve a solution. Instead, they fuel protests here which only make a resolution more difficult. I believe we need to find a new, different way of working through and settling these difficult issues as family, a way that recognizes and respects our differences while not expecting anyone to change his or her most personal feelings. So it is not helpful to criticize Israelis for being too orthodox, and it does not help Israelis to critique Jews abroad for being reform or conservative. When we do so, we only weaken the bonds between us. I say this out of concern for our shared future as a Jewish people, a long-term view that must transcend any short-term matters. As we all know, the recent Pew study on American Jews suggests that coming generations will be less connected to their religious and even cultural Jewish roots. And according to Sergio Della Pergola of Hebrew University, similar trends are underway throughout the Jewish world. Young diaspora and Israeli Jews are already far enough apart, and I fear such trends will further reduce our sense of shared peoplehood. How we address these twin challenges, our present differences and our common future, is up to us and our colleagues. Fortunately, there are efforts to bridge the gaps between us by reinforcing Jewish identity, We already seen successes of several projects, Birthright that is known to all of us. Israelis are ready and willing to invest their resources, according, by the way, to all the studies and polls, to develop additional Israel education and Jewish identity programs abroad. But we need your help and partnership running these programs for them to succeed at keeping our people united. At the same time, support for Israel itself has been another challenge for our global family. Some have even questioned whether or why they should support the State of Israel, suggesting that our efforts at peace have not been sufficient. About, a month, 5 weeks ago, the Israeli Prime Minister spoke at the United Nations and invited Abu Mazen, to the Knesset. I guess in a gesture of goodwill to reciprocate, Abu Mazen invited the Prime Minister to International Court in Hague. I think it's not just a joke. I think it reflects the reality. 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago, during the Chag of Sukkot, during the wonderful period in the Jewish year, a neighbor of mine and a good friend of mine, a mayor of Efrat, invited several residents of the nearby village with which they have wonderful relations to his sukkah. They had good time. The only problem was that someone not sensitive enough put the picture on Facebook. 4 villagers from this nearby village were arrested and some say even tortured by the Palestinian Authority for visiting the mayor of Efrat. This is the reality we are dealing with. It doesn't mean that we are desperate. It doesn't mean that we will stop making the efforts. And I do have to say that when I hear the sentence, it just takes, no offense, Prime Minister, really no offense, but when people say it just takes 2 courageous leaders to shake hands and then the reality will change. Well, it's a little bit more complicated. I really believe in building peace. And the efforts we are making here in the Knesset, by the way, no difference, coalition, opposition, this party, that party, is to build relations with parliaments, members of parliaments, especially in this area. Not too many successes to report. But small progress is there. And some international bodies, we just heard from a member of Knesset, Nachman Shai, who came back from IPU, International Parliament Union meeting. Some international bodies realize that instead of these fruitless and unnecessary arguments, we have to get to real cooperation for a change to work bottom up, to make efforts and build peace. And parliaments have a great role to play. I believe in it, and I am sure we'll make some progress. But to make this progress, we don't need these sentences, definitely not coming from inside our family, about Israel not really wanting peace and Israel not making real efforts. To sum up, I want to report to all of you that this Knesset, this parliament, the Israeli Knesset, has wonderful cooperation with the Jewish Agency. I want to thank my good friend Natan Sharansky and all those working on your behalf in this building for everything they are doing. Educational programs, many members of Knesset, as you know, visit places, visit different communities, meet with you and delegations from diaspora. And I think that speaking of building our future, this is a very important and a necessary effort. To know him is to love him, they used to sing in that song. I'm not sure that to know will mean less differences, immediately the same opinion, but it will definitely give us more of a feeling that we are a diverse, sometimes scattered, sometimes arguing, but still one family. Thank you for being here.